There are a number of factors that govern the habitability of a planet, and it is the unity of these factors that allows for the existence of life. The planet described within this video is my habitable planet. That is, a hypothetical planet created by me. I've decided to name this hypothetical planet Juno, after the Roman goddess. Juno would exist within the habitable zone of a K-type main sequence star, or a K-dwarf. A K-dwarf, in terms of size, exists between that of our own Sun and that of a red dwarf. Juno would be situated approximately 0.6 AU from the local star, which means it would not be tidally locked and far enough away so as to not be lethally affected by solar activity. In addition to this, at this distance, Juno would receive relatively little UV radiation. K-dwarfs exist on the main sequence for a period of 20 to 70 billion years, providing ample time for evolution of life to occur. With a diameter of around 11,000 kilometers, Juno would be host to two moons, Vulcan and Bellona, situated at around 300,000 kilometers and 250,000 kilometers away, respectively. On a more personal surface level, Juno would be comprised of areas of sprawling greenery and liquid water oceans, which would allow it to host life. This wealth of flora, as well as the surrounding oceans, would allow for the presence of oxygen upon Juno by way of photosynthesis. This oxygen presence is important for the existence of complex multicellular life. Without oxygen, well, we'd be left looking like this for a few minutes, until we inevitably, Tectonic activity relatively early into Juno's creation would result in volcanoes not unlike Earth, which would have released gases and resulted in the formation of an atmosphere. This atmosphere would allow for gases such as carbon dioxide to be held, thus keeping the planet warm and suitable for life. Additionally, this atmosphere would further mitigate the harmful effects of UV radiation, but given the nature of K-dwarf stars and the distance Juno exists from it, this would already be a minor issue. Given the presence of the two aforementioned moons, Vulcan and Bellona, the tides of Juno would be drastically affected. This would result in erosion of the landforms and, coupled with the early tectonic activity of the planet, would result in mountainous regions. Given the wealth of water availability and the unpredictable nature of the tides, life would have evolved in such a way that the bulk of fauna present on Juno would be amphibious, to allow for ventures onto land, but to exist predominantly in the ocean. Upon Juno, creatures similar to Earth's salamanders, frogs, or caecilians would be present, and would serve as the dominant species. These would prey on smaller, water-faring creatures, and as a result of having no natural predators, would evolve to be larger in size, in contrast to our Earth-born analogues that adapted to avoid predators. These creatures would be omnivorous, allowing them to eat the water-faring creatures as well as terrestrial plant life for increased sustenance. Given the unpredictable nature of Juno's environmental conditions, these creatures would not evolve in such a way so as to become truly intelligent and capable of societal constructs like humans, and would instead exist in a perpetual animalistic state. Plant life would consist of grasses, but also deep-rooted and sturdy trees. These trees would be taller and bulkier, with their leaves situated high above the land beneath them, to protect from the unpredictable tides. These trees would be similar in appearance to the African Adansonia trees, and given the size and morphology of the aforementioned amphibious species, these would be able to be scaled with relative ease. Smaller trees and shrubbery would exist across the land, and these would over time grow sturdier so as to avoid destruction from the tides. The greatest challenge that comes with the hypothetical creation of a new planet is that we are largely limited by our prior knowledge of how life works. Earth, and its workings, are the only real source of information we have to go off, and imagination can only get you so far when you're attempting to deal with a realistic creation. Juno, as it has been presented, could hypothetically exist as a habitable planet, but in a different vein to what we are accustomed to on Earth. And so, while Earth is the only source of life we currently know of, Given the right conditions, it's not impossible for life to exist elsewhere.